This factory in Queens, New York, is America's largest producer of fortune cookies.
This is the inheritance from my Chinese American ancestors, and I feel fortunate to be a part of it.
Norman Wong is the CEO of Wonton Food. He helped transform his dad's small noodle business into the hidden backbone of America's Chinese restaurant industry. It supplies thousands of restaurants with noodles, fried wontons, and cookies. And staff write all the fortunes themselves.
I mean, the whole reason we're the largest fortune cookie manufacturer in the world is because they don't make it in China. They don't eat fortune cookies in China.
In fact, many of the most popular dishes on Chinese restaurant menus were invented in the US. Through the 20th century, chefs made cheap, crowd-pleasing foods like chop suey and General Tso's chicken for American palates.
美式中餐呢，它就是给美国人吃的。
Meanwhile, traditional dishes like Peking duck struggled to catch on with non-Chinese Americans.
Being Chinese, people didn't understand your culture, your community, your food.
But now, a new wave of Chinese restaurants is betting that Americans are finally ready for flavors that rarely left Chinatown. Quanjude, a 162-year-old Beijing chain, opened its first New York City location in 2025. It takes days for chefs to prepare its famous Peking duck, which sells for $128.
Someone asked me if I had a fortune cookie for them. And then I'm like, not here.
So why does America have more Chinese restaurants than McDonald's and Burger King combined? And why did Americans take so long to embrace classic Chinese dishes? The oldest running Chinese restaurant in America is tucked away in the small mountain town of Butte, Montana, known as the richest hill on Earth. The name came from its massive copper wealth, which drew Chinese immigrants to the city for mining work in the late 1800s. But the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act and the discrimination it fueled pushed many businesses to stop hiring Chinese Americans. So some immigrants created their own. When Jerry Tam's ancestors opened Pekin Noodle Parlor in 1911, it had an illegal gambling ring, an opium den hidden in the basement.
This is one of the gambling tables where a shotgun would be mounted underneath it in case anyone was caught stealing. There was barrels of opium. They said street value of it was over $50,000 to $200,000.
Underground tunnels gave people a safe passageway and kept these illegal businesses out of sight.
Same as Chinese, you can't be a black person running around Butte, Montana. So the first African-American nightclub in Butte, Montana is through that door.
Upstairs in the kitchen, Jerry's ancestors served a dish that was just taking off in the US, chop suey. The name comes from the Cantonese phrase zap suey, which means miscellaneous leftovers.
The Chinese restaurant in any city or state took the leftover tidbits of food, mixed it all together, created its own natural gravy, and placed it over hard noodles, soft noodles. It was just what was available to us at the time.
At that time, many Americans were boycotting Chinese restaurants. But dishes like chop suey won over customers by blending new flavors with familiar ingredients.
It was the first national cuisine for mass consumption for the nation. So in that sense, it's a predecessor to American fast food.
By 1965, the US had ended immigration quotas based on race and repealed the Chinese Exclusion Act. Meanwhile, Americans were starting to accept traditional Chinese flavors.
East meets West as a handshake bridges 16,000 miles.
A turning point came in 1972 when Richard Nixon traveled to Beijing, the first time an American president had visited China in 23 years. Americans watched Nixon on TV, eating traditional dishes like Peking duck. In the years that followed, the dish became more widely accepted in the US, alongside other regional cuisines such as Sichuan hot pot. Chinese restaurants across the US reported spikes in sales, and it was estimated that a new one was opening every week in New York City. Americanized Chinese food stayed popular as chefs introduced new hit dishes in the 70s, like General Tso's chicken.
They felt that Americans would like these kind of stronger flavors like sweet or sour.
In 1973, Norman Wong's dad, Ching Sun Wong, founded Wonton Food Inc. in New York City's Chinatown to meet spiking demand for ingredients like noodles.
His uncle told him in Hong Kong, like way back, he said, as long as you hold on to this craft and skill of making noodles, you'll always be able to make a living.
He produced other Chinese restaurant staples like fried wontons and wrappers for dishes like spring rolls. But later on, his most popular product became the fortune cookie.
The origin of fortune cookies, just like the origin of pizza, it's shrouded in, mystery. I don't know if we'll ever figure it out.
Multiple Chinese and Japanese families claim to have invented them, with origins dating back to the 1800s.
We believe that fortune cookies were invented on the West Coast in California by Chinese Americans and then slowly moved to all the Chinese American restaurants in the country.
In the late 1950s, an estimated 250 million fortune cookies were being produced each year by dozens of companies. By the 80s, the treats were served with takeout orders at chains like Manchu Wok and Panda Express, as Chinese food became America's most popular ethnic cuisine. That same decade, Norman's dad bought a small fortune cookie factory, and by 2013, Wonton Food Inc. had hundreds of clients and 5 factories. Today, the company supplies tens of thousands of restaurants around the world and is America's top fortune cookie producer.
Our fortune cookie machines are actually faster than what you can get outside, so we're not going to sell those machines to anybody else.
Many of these machines are designed to tackle a challenging task, making cookies with the perfect crispy shell that won't easily crack. This one separates each shell without crushing them, while this one cushions each bag with air to keep the cookies from chipping. Air from a tiny tube blows out any that are stuck together, keeping them from being packaged in one bag. Employees dump and sort the discarded cookies here, tossing out the overly chipped ones. Wonton Food says it created this type of packaging in 1988 to help keep cookies fresh.
Originally, cookies just came in a cardboard box with no additional wrapping. Every single time a customer comes and they got to take one out, they just leave the bag open. And then the cookies, they start losing that crunchy texture.
Next, cookies are packaged, pressed, stamped, wrapped, and shipped off to restaurants and supermarkets across the globe. Until 2017, one of the employees, Donald Lau, wrote all of the fortunes himself, but he retired when writer's block finally caught up with him. A small team of staff still keeps the tradition alive.
Will you ever have AI write fortunes? I'm so sorry.
No. I don't want to do anything that would dilute it, make it less meaningful, degrade its standing in people's eyes.
In 1995, Wonton started adding lucky numbers to its fortunes.
Before computers and random number generators, we would just draw them out of a golden bowl.
Over the decades, Americans have won millions by playing Wonton fortune numbers in actual lotteries. Like in 2005, when more than 100 lottery winners won up to $500,000 each.
There was reporters everywhere, and we had to do a press conference. It was quite a moment.
In 2010, the Chinese population in the US was nearly 5 times larger than it was in 1980. By 2016, major restaurant chains from China, including Happy Lamb Hot Pot and Haidilao, had begun expanding across the US. As new Chinese dishes gained popularity, restaurant owners began pushing back on stereotypes that framed their cuisine as cheap or unhealthy.
China has become an economic power, so a lot of new regional cuisines and more expensive restaurants have arrived in the US.
所以我认为是现在非常好的来传播这样的中国文化和美食。
Yan Zheng is the CEO of Quanjude America, the U.S. branch of China's most famous Peking duck restaurant. Quanjude opened its first North American location in Vancouver in 2020 and earned a Michelin star 2 years later.
我真的是就是热泪盈眶的那种感觉，因为米其林确实是在全世界来说，它是像餐饮界的奥斯卡一样。
Fueled by the restaurant's Michelin success, Zheng decided to make the leap to New York City. With consumer spending in China at some of its weakest levels in years, more food chains like this are turning to overseas markets to stay afloat.
一直坚信，美食是相通的，美食是无国界的，美好的东西、好吃的东西，大家都是会喜欢的。
Peking duck takes multiple days to make and is one of the hardest foods in Chinese cuisine to cook properly.
You need to practice every day, progress every day.
Howie Wong is a sous chef at Quanjude and trains new chefs on how to make the dish. Skin thickness and tiny scratches can change the meat's juiciness, so each duck is inspected and cleaned before it's hung to dry. Traditionally, the duck is hooked by its neck, but that method is tough for beginners. If the hook is slightly off, juices leak out. So the workers cut off the head and hook it lower. They boil and glaze it, which helps the skin get its perfectly light, crisp, and non-greasy texture. Quanjude's Peking duck isn't marinated. The flavor comes from the dipping sauce.
If the duck have flavor or the salt or the pepper or anything spicy, I won't say it's a traditional Chinese Peking duck.
Next, they let it sit until the skin is dry and ready to be cooked. Any small error during the prep can stop the duck's skin from crisping properly, or the meat from staying juicy. The duck needs roughly an hour in the oven, so getting it ready for exactly when a customer shows up isn't easy.
中餐一定要趁热吃，味道才会是最好。
Once it's done cooking, Howie torches it, the final step to getting that perfect texture. Just one of these ducks costs $128.
我们生活在北美这么多年，没有看到真正的北京烤鸭。
With dishes like lamb and honey, smoked fish and plum sauce, and Peking duck, Yen wants to help change the narrative of what Chinese food is and can be.
Someone asked me if I had a fortune cookie for them. And then I'm like, not here.
William Wu started working for Quanjude in 2020.
What I found is that the Western guests still have limited knowledge to what Chinese people eat. They still think about what they would order at Panda Express. The heavily battered pork with like a really colorful or really dark sweet sauce.
But Quanjude still makes minor tweaks to accommodate its customers here in the US. For example, the menu doesn't include pork.
那么我们希望，因为美国人很喜欢吃牛肉，很喜欢吃羊肉。
Since opening its New York location, duck orders are up 30%. Even as authentic Chinese cuisine gains momentum, restaurateurs and food critics say Americanized dishes still have a rightful place on the table too.
A lot of people say it's a fake Chinese, but you can still recognize the Chineseness. So that really opened the way for people to embrace newer kinds of cuisines from China.
But running any kind of Chinese restaurant in the US still has its challenges. Americans still haven't fully embraced some traditional ingredients like MSG. Since the 1960s, false rumors have spread that it causes adverse health effects like cancer and brain damage.
It's blown totally out of proportion. Prejudice against Chinese food has become embedded. When society needs a scapegoat, for example, during the pandemic, Chinese often became a target.
One study found that in 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Asian restaurants lost $7.4 billion in revenue because of anti-Chinese sentiment. And rising political tensions between the US and China and tariff disputes have added more pressure.
Chinese Americans are sandwiched in between. A lot of Chinese Americans have said to me that we are being marginalized.
Still, Chinese restaurants carry on, preserving traditions that have endured for generations.
I want to knock down every Chinese restaurant in America just to say thank you for, being a part of my world, understanding like my struggles every day. Chinese food is in demand right now because people are slowly understanding that this is high quality food, good food, tasteful food, and they will be sick of eating, French fries and chicken nuggets. And this is just kind of what's fun about the history of the Pekin. We have over 2,300 miles of underground tunnels, and this is what is truly the start of the tunnel system. And if you knock down that wall, it'll lead to a tunnel going into the building next door across the alley.